Jim said, my name is Sergio Borquez, and I'm a fourth-generation farmer from Northwest Mexico. And my dad always taught me, since a young age, by example and by lecturing, that beyond any fruit or vegetable, we really are harvesting projects of life with the people that are helping us doing all this operation. And just like following that line, I'm here to present our latest project on social responsibility that we believe can have an impact on the way we look at social responsibility in our industry. So as I move forward, I first want to give a brief introduction set up about the concept of social responsibility in agriculture and the produce industry. So as Jim was mentioning, social responsibility on agribusinesses and produce industry, it's a relatively new hot topic. And especially here in the US, because of an article that came out in the LA Times that exposed agricultural operations in Mexico that were doing abusive practices and really showing, like if you see in the picture on the left, in the one in the middle, this is one of the pictures from the article that showed an infant working on the fields in this operation. Therefore, retailers didn't react lightly. They react strongly with stricter and more frequent audits. I believe that now retailers like Kroger and Walmart have their own social responsibility certification that if you want to make any business with them, you got to be able to pass that certification. That means that there's one certification for Kroger and another one for Walmart, they put their own standard of what it's non-abusive to make sure that they're not associated with any of these abusive practices from the produce that goes into their store. So we believe this is a good thing. This is almost like food safety many years back. You have to be able to ensure that all your practices are considered fair and before going into any negotiation, right? Maybe after you're able to ensure that, it's not so much a factor anymore, but you have to be able to ensure that since day one. So it's kind of standardizing what we consider fair practices across the industry, and which we believe is a very good thing. Yet, what I'm here to talk about is what I consider, or many people will consider, a social opportunity, being progressive on a real issue that we see here in our industry. And I say this because there is this sad irony, I consider it a sad irony, that the people that are feeding the world with delicious fruits and vegetables really many times don't have access to basic utilities like electricity or potable water, right? So, and this is even more upfront or in your face when you realize that only by aligning a conscious mentality and a mentality of being inclusive about this issue, being aware, you really can change. If you align this mentality across organizations in the value chain, you can make this very tremendous impact on this reality. And the project that we just did, the one I'm about to present, really shows how one commodity for one farm operation and one retailer really changed thousands of lives just by aligning this mentality and being conscious about this reality. So this, for short, we call this project the water supply case. And the people, the organizations and people involved are first my family's agricultural operation, Campos Borquez. We produce, and our collaborators, we produce table grapes and asparagus. Table grapes from early April to early July, late April to early July, and asparagus from October to May, having a harvesting operation for altogether 10 months out of the year. Out of these 10 months of the year, our labor for harvest really goes up, our labor demand. So in order to really be able to supply this labor demand, we go to southern states that are 2,000 kilometers south of our operation, like Veracruz, Chiapas, Puebla, Oaxaca, and really have people that are coming for many years. They come for 3 or 6 months of the year to work on a harvest operation. So then we have Whole Foods, premier US retailer, really known for its social and environmental focus, but also known for its innovative practices and its very rapid growth in the past years. And lastly, but not least, we have Fair Trade certification. This is a certification that really targets producers that have this initiative, this conviction about socioeconomic prosperity and environmental care, and really gives them tools to maximize the potential of their conviction and their initiatives. And it also helps for other organizations throughout the value chain to really identify this type of conscious producers and kind of associate with them. And also it helps the final consumer to identify the produce that is being operated, or everything that goes behind that produce, are with those same values. Therefore, when they buy produce under the fair trade certification, they're really paying a small premium that goes directly into the producing organization, but strictly into projects that foment socioeconomic prosperity and environmental care. So, to give you a brief history of what we've been able to accomplish together since 2013, our relationship between Whole Foods and our fair trade program, we really first realized and wanted to focus on the cause, what truly is the cause of many of the problems of the living conditions that our collaborators are facing. And we realized that many is because of the lack of educational and health services that they have access to. Therefore, on our farm, where they spend 3 to 6 months of the year, we open up 2 clinics. One is a dental clinic, another an optometrist clinic. Since 2013, we've been able to provide service to over 3,000 of our dental service and over 1,000 of our optometry service, giving almost nearly 700 glasses for people that they never had the time to really go and check them if they have eyesight, and they were living their lives with very blurry sight, or very poor eyesight. And on the educational program, we had a scholarship program, giving away scholarships from primary school all the way to college education to our collaborators and their family members. Since then, we've been able to give away almost 600 scholarships, but also this is a program that is growing rapidly year over year. Yet, thankfully, this relationship with Whole Foods is growing. Therefore, the fair trade premium going into this project is growing. And as we look into what's next for us, we want to make sure that whatever projects we keep doing are really have an incremental impact on our collaborators. And we're not simply diminishing it and kind of let this fade away, right? So how can we have incremental impact on their daily lives? So as I said, there are 3 to 6 months of the year on our facilities, yet there's 6 to 9 months of the year in their home communities. And so how do the home communities look? We took a look, as I'm going to give more, and they really don't have either, many of them, access to electricity, potable water. Many times their homes are incomplete. They're missing a wall or a roof. And so we better have to do something about this, right? So to really seize and analyze what opportunities were out there, we did a company-wide study where we try to include every of our collaborators from everywhere in Mexico and listen to them. This is very much many different ways of listening. Focus groups, meetings, surveys, where people can have a voice and get together, and we open up about what the potential and opportunities were there if they get together and coordinate. And after we analyzed all of this information, we came out with 3 different projects we believe can be impactful for this new initiative of going back to the home communities. And the first one, and the one about this whole presentation is mainly about, is the water supply case in Veracruz. But there were 2 other projects. One about the roof constructions in Chiapas, where to this day we have been able to construct over 40 roofs as well in the communities of Chiapas. And another one in north, in our home state, Sonora, where this is a community that the closest school was 20 kilometers away, yet the transportation they used to get there is broken. Many times what they need is not so much of a financial donation, yet a coordination and really helping them thinking long term and having more discipline. So we work with them in that, to give it some financial push to motivate them as well. And we're still in the process of fully getting a program so they can go to school as well. Yet, the case in point is for the water supply case in Veracruz. To give you more information about this project, this is about a town called Tierra Nueva in Veracruz. This is barely over 1,200 people live in this town. It's rural, high places in the mountains of Veracruz. Yet, up to 350 of these 1,200 people work on our farms, either for the asparagus or the grape season. And in here, we realized that we had 2 big problems. Number one is the lack of infrastructure. Yet, we see this because 100% of the homes of Tierra Nueva don't have access to potable water in their homes. And this has caused many problems. One, of course, in convenience, as moms and children usually have to walk like it's a 5-kilometer round trip where they collect water in usually 20-liter buckets, like the one we can see in that picture, for their entire use. They go twice a day, once in the morning and another time in the afternoon. This is used for hygiene, cuisine, everything personal use in their homes. This usually takes them around 6 hours a day. That's almost as much as it took me to go to school every day, right? And this is what children are spending their 6 hours a day in Tierra Nueva. And also these bring up many diseases, risk to diseases. We saw in our study the signs of two, specifically. 74% of them said to have more than one time during a year to show diarrhea. And it's linked very directly to the lack of good quality and direct good source of water. And also 20% of them directly showed signs of dehydration. Therefore, there's this big problem of infrastructure that is having an effect in convenience and health in these people in Tierra Nueva. But there's a second problem, and equally as big, and it's this lack of structure in the community of Tierra Nueva. Community structure, community coordination. Why do we say this? One, there's very little presence of any government authority. And two, we've looked at the past of this community and see why any project of this haven't been done. When we look back, we saw that one project was initiated many years back to give them the water supply, yet many of the people in the village complained that all of the resources didn't fully get into the project, and as they saw very slow signs of success in this project, many of the same people kind of segregated and like broke the pipelines for their own use, and eventually it was very little lack of coordination and very little lack of authority presence. And so in order to really take action, we need to figure out a way to solve these two problems to ensure long-term success. So how could we do that? Well, first, we had to analyze the feasibility of this project. So we made this open meeting in our farm where we have a fair trade committee that represents proportionally everyone in the company structurally, but also geographically, yet because we have very diverse collaborators, very different cultures, so we have to be able to represent all of them equally. But we opened everyone else in that meeting, in that dialogue. Myself was there, and really evaluated these three projects in three criteria: level of impact, number of collaborators reached, and also the feasibility of implementation. This was based on consensus, and it really graded very high on level of impact and employees reached. Yet on the feasibility, we realized the cultural barriers made this a complex operation, and we had to really know that this wasn't going to be easy. Yet when we look at financing, and we read the rough draft of the budget, we realized that in order to ensure that we sustained our current programs with a fair trade premium at a healthy growth and don't risk our cash flow, we could finance 85% of that from the fair trade premium. Yet the remaining 15% was financing by our company, Campos Borquez. So in other ways, 85% comes from Whole Foods buyers and 15% comes from Campos Borquez. So now that we saw that this is feasible, we all agreed that we want to do it, we had to set clear objectives. So we make sure that we're able to measure the success of this project. So we looked at objective number one, the most obvious one, is to construct an effective water supply system that is effective to 100% of the homes and is reliable 365 days of the year. But also we realized the need of empowering the community of Tierra Nueva to really ensure the coordination and sense of ownership, thinking long-term and for their own further self-improvement. Number three, we wanted to build a long-term relationship between the community of Tierra Nueva and Campos Borquez. This is a mutually beneficial relationship that I'm going to get more detail later on what we really mean about this objective. So to prepare, we hired a hydraulic engineering team, especially as we're going to lead the execution of the project. This team, before doing any implementation, they had to go back to Tierra Nueva. We can see a screenshot from Google Earth on the top left. And the big red dots is where the natural sources of water and the current places where people are walking to collect the water and then go back homes. So they went there and analyzed the water quality, was great. They analyzed the Also, the topography, no problems. And the equipment needed given the topography that it showed. And it was all perfectly under the budget, no issue. Yet when we looked at the workforce needed, this was very labor-intensive operation. And not only is it very labor-intensive, but when we look at, in Veracruz, they have a very strong rain season. And when it starts raining, it's impossible to operate. So we had to do it in a very short time because the rain season was it was close. So how do we solve this challenge? The same way we've been doing this since day one. We include the community, we include everyone, and listen to them. And they really wanted this to happen, and we let them take matters on their own hands. So they volunteered as the sole labor of this project. We divided them in 5 groups. Is masoning, repairs, diggings, I believe is pipeline repairs, and solar panels, to install solar panels for energy. So when we also had them rotate within this group, so nobody is specialized on one, but almost everyone can have a generalized knowledge of how the system works. So full labor is volunteering from the community, and now we're starting to coordinate and have a structure. So how does it look today? If we look at if we look at how the 3 objectives are really shown to this date, it will go one by one, and first see the first one, the infrastructure. To this day, we were able to accomplish that at 100%. 100% of the homes in Tierra Nueva have access to water supply directly at their houses. And this obviously has had many health benefits we mentioned before. It's liberate them from the risk of the signs that they show, diarrhea and dehydration and neck and back pains. But also, many studies show that community with these type of conditions are also facing risk of diseases like trachoma, cholera, intestinal parasite. So all of these diseases, they have a much safer life and a healthier life, hopefully, because of this. But additionally, we saw a convenience, obviously. Now, 6 extra hours a day that women and children are going to be able to experience every day. Children are going to be able to be children and take advantage of recreational and educational opportunities that are in their town. But also, women will be able to really dedicate their time to whatever they seem more convenient, either help with being a parent, cleaning the house, do a better job of having more hygiene, a cleaner house, or even add to the household income and support the family as well. So these are a convenience and a health benefit. Yet there was an unexpected third benefit that we run into, and it's a potential benefit, not yet shown in the community, but we saw that the main economic activity of this community is local agriculture. And in local agriculture, they use, for their irrigation system is natural rainfall. So they're really up in the hands of nature to really determine many of the variables that determine yield. And yield means economic income for these families. So we realized, from the advice of the hydraulic engineering team, that we could extend this system into installing an irrigation system for these fields and really hopefully improve their yields and improve the economic, the household income in this area. So this is for future and really continuing this project. Let's look at objective number 2. We set this to be 50% done. And why is this? Because this empowering people, it doesn't happen over time. Yet we have been able to accomplish a large amount of coordination among this community. And how do we prove that? Is that for nearly 6 months now, we created a committee with them that has worked perfectly, been able to give maintenance to this system, follow up, and really let it to function at 100% to this date. And to do that, we also, Campos Borquez hired the hydraulic engineering team as their consultant, any monthly repairs that they have to do. And we hired a third-party auditor that will make sure that they're doing what they said that they were going to do. So the committee is based fully on Tierra Nueva's civilians, and they have the head, they have a treasury, they have pipeline repairs and a supply system repairs. And they collect to the families a 5 peso fee, Mexican peso, $0.25 every month. with this is the financing they get to do any repairs they get to do. So far, this has been enough. And they do a 30-day monthly maintenance report that they send back to us and to the consulting group. So if there's any new repairs, we can advise them and to help them do it. And additionally, well, they have to administrate and report to us, but also they really work independently in their own. So we have achieved coordination, yet where we want to go is to allow having them that sense of ownership and empowerment that allow them to think long-term and have their own initiatives with that same type of coordination that would further their advancement and the community's advancement. So project objective number 3. This is a complex 20%. We said, and I want to say why it's a complex objective and a very long-term objective, and maybe a bit ambitious, but we believe we have to reach for this type of objectives as well. What do I mean when I said long-term relationship between Tierra Nueva and Campos Borquez? Right now, we have a high retention rate in this community, yet we want to monitor this more strongly and also really go beyond in these programs. Not only if they are ready, if they know we're helping them right now with water, and we have a scholarship program, maybe we can work in a combination of, most of them start coming to our farms at the age of 18. We work in some sort of program that if you stay in school, we support with scholarship, you come at the age of 22, and while you're going to start in the fields, you maybe go up much easier to middle management and move up in the company, and you know how far, we never know how far this can go. So, and then, but also in a different dimension, having them being more conscious about these type of projects and how these type of projects work, it really directs them not only to our farm, but to the final consumer and Whole Foods buyers. And we're starting to see that type of connection. And we have an empathetic and a consumer that has solidarity to the reality of the people that is practically feeding their family. And really, while they have empathetic enough to make their lives better, these people are going to be empathetic enough to give that extra effort to focus on the things that the family values the most. So we have a strategy that is aligned all the way, deeply integrated in this value chain, from the farm worker, our collaborators, to the end consumer. And a video that we have that shows that after the end of 2014, you play it first? And this is a video that shows the connection between our collaborators and Whole Foods Buyer Program, how they're starting to realize this. I'm going to let the video speak for itself. But is it good? It worked well last time, I don't know. If it's too much trouble, I could skip it too. Good.
Gracias a que pusieron este consultorio nos pudimos arreglar a mí mi diente y a mis hijos la limpieza y a mi hijo la muela, y también nos están apoyando con becas para que se esfuercen más los niños, y que los consultorios son para la gente que trabaja aquí en la empresa y que estamos contentos con lo que están haciendo y que además es gratis.
Mi nombre es Gilberto Núñez y gracias al programa pude checarme y pues, adaptaron lentes, y a mi hija la traje a checar y también le pusieron lentes.
¿Puedes ver ahí al frente? ¿Puedes ver bien qué es esto?
La O.
¿Este?
Este.
¿Dónde se ve mejor? En este.
Y pues mi hija salió beneficiada de la beca, tiene 13 años y va a la secundaria, anda en el segundo grado y le dio mucho gusto al saber que salió beneficiada de la beca.
Murillo Aguilar de Guanajuato. Me da mucho gusto porque he trabajado aquí, he venido ya varias temporadas y he visto muchos cambios. Veo 3 consultorios, oculista, dental, para estar sanos, gracias a Dios y al empaque de Campos Borquez.
Y a mí pues tenía un diente quebrado porque me reía, me tapaba, porque me daba vergüenza. Y ahora que me lo arreglaron ya me veo así.
Gracias a los compradores del espárrago del Campos Borquez se ha hecho realidad este sueño de poder ayudar a personas que lo necesitan. Sosogamate miel.
Sosogamate.
Gracias por
Gracias, Corpus.
Muchas gracias, Corpus.
Muchas gracias, Corpus.
Yo creo en Dios. Muchas gracias, Corpus.
Muchas gracias, Corpus, por seguir comprando nuestros espárragos y aquí vamos a estar echándole ganas.
This wasn't any promotion for Whole Foods, I promise. But it's about to start. It's a different video, not for this presentation. But we have been able to that's me. My brother, who was here. Good. So, yeah, this is really put Whole Foods, and I'm proud of saying it, not really, this is not some of advertisement or anything, but we have been able to work and really align our values and join forces to accomplish something great. And that's what we believe the true potential for this industry is when we do that. And it's so much, I wanna give brief testimonies. There we go. So, and before continuing on that thought, I want to just put a little more image in this same project, 2 brief examples. One is Naum Santos Lopez on your left. So that's for question number 1. I hope that is. And question number 2, it's we don't get so much of a premium ourselves in the market. Yet this allows us to work with companies and build long-term relationships with companies that think alike. So we've worked with Whole Foods for 3 years, and that's been expanding. And I think a big part of the reason, a very important part of the reason, is because of fair trade. So it allows us to connect with like-minded organizations for long-term relationships, yet it doesn't necessarily give us a premium on the market.
Hi, Noelle Lopez, studying environmental and business economics at Rutgers. I'm just going to ask a question on your response for the first question from before. So you said that they don't know how to budget or their money effectively, and you try to give them a higher wage, more favorable living wage. Have you considered implementing a corporate social responsibility program that would help educate them how to finance what they want in life and how to budget for the future?
100%. We have done that. We've continued to do that, and for that, the fair trade team is very helpful. They have many workshops that they come to our farms and give them about food safety, budgeting, and stuff. And we also have we have a foundation independently from this company, from Campos Borquez, that had these type of courses, and we always try to invite them into to take these type of classes. So definitely something we're working on. We may be able to do a better job. Hopefully, I think we can always get better, but it's definitely something we have worked on and we continue to work on. So,
Nick from Coolfresh. Sergio, we've met in Amsterdam, and I was really impressed by your story. The question that I wanted to ask then, but didn't have the time to, is quite often we find, my opinion in any case, is that retailers are very fast to say we want this, 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 and then when somebody does this, this, and that, the story stops. Has your retailer enabled you to tell this beautiful story to the consumers that buy from them?
Well, 100% agree. When talking in general, there's very few retailers that will go the extra mile for this type of that's our experience at least, to go for this type of projects. And Whole Foods actually has done it. They've put videos of these on their stores. They've put images of our story, of what we do, of our projects. And I think many times has to do with the type of consumer the retailer has, and if the consumer really is interested in seeing this type of stuff. But we hope there's more Whole Foods out there. We really would, in an ideal world, we'll work with only companies like that. And that way we can maximize our impact and maximize the way we work in the community. But Whole Foods, yes, has done it. They put videos, stands, images, yet that's the only case we face.
Yes, my name is Ger Mulder. I'm also from the other part of the ocean. And you gave a great example of something that's happening at other places in the world, in Africa, for example, as well. What I get from your story is that you rely a lot on the export from your farm to the US. So does Africa rely on exports to the European Union? And on both sides, we see that the barriers, the trade barriers are becoming higher and higher. There's a new president here. He said he wants to get rid of NAFTA. How do you feel about that? Because this model depends a lot on the globalization. And you just mentioned the word inclusive. That is just very modern now at WTO level, that you show that globalization is good for people to develop and so on. How do you feel about what's happening at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm very politically correct, so I think how I feel about, the president-elect, I'll just leave it like that. But I think in many ways, hopefully we can realize, and I'm hopeful because I think the U.S. is a great country. We've done so many great business partnerships and relationships here in the U.S. that we realize that the type of that this is a mutually beneficial relationship that we have with Mexico and the U.S., especially with food. So I hope we're smart enough together to realize that and overcome it. I think it will be too much harm to both sides if we increase it. Barriers, trade barriers. I think it's sad that that's a tendency we're seeing in the world. Yet, I think I still have faith that something like this big, like the NAFTA, and especially in food, we can still be over our differences or whatever to overcome it.
Hi, Sabrina from Fresh on Board in Canada. I just wanted to know if you find that you've started a trend of corporate social responsibility in Mexico as a whole, or if you continue to be the exception to the rule.
our goal is to start a trend. I don't know if we've done that, but yet I can say that more consciousness about social responsibility for what the motivation may be, yet that is increasing. And that is truly increasing, yet we want to make sure that the trend we want to set up here is that not only we have to do what is necessary for us to be able to do business, yet we have to do, we really have so much power in our hands and in front of us, with so much disparity in front of us, that we can take advantage of that power to do good. So that's the type of trend we want to set up, and many of the reasons, thankfully, we're trying to share this story. This is probably the main reason.
Dr. Adal Hussain with World Liberty TV. Sergio, excellent presentation. I probably would call you a humanitarian / producer my question to you is, where did you get your humanitarian side? Because that's really what you're doing. This is a humanitarian acts of helping these people. I mean, you really didn't need to do that. You could have just been making a lot of money like your family and just putting it in banks, driving cars and things. But where did you get your inspiration with the humanitarian side? When did it occur to you that it's time to give back and help these people? Yourself, not the family. Thank you.
Real stuff. Definitely, family has been influencing all of my values and conviction. Yet, I grew up in the farm, and my best friends were the sons of the farm workers. And I saw how, actually have the picture as my cover for my computer. They were completely my neighbors. We shared one wall to the sons of the people that really managed the cowboy for the horses. And they were my best friends growing up, and I saw how different, eventually we're like the same, but then I saw how different our lives went after a certain age, and how there really is only a wall between me and them, and nothing else, you know. So I want to make that not be the reality.
We'll do one more question.
I'm Mike Wood with Tojo Mushrooms, and my question is kind of twofold. First of all, in the beginning you talked about a company-wide study that you did, and I was wondering, did your human resource department do that study, or a third party, or, you know, we've been funding a lot of things in our local communities, but I don't think definitely haven't made the impact that you're making, you know, there. And so, you know, maybe I should be studying different for the community. And the second is the monthly dues of 5 peso or whatever it was. That's a nice move, you know, because now they can say it's, you know, there's some ownership there. Do you pull that out of their check, or do they pay it themselves, or?
The 5 peso was the committee's idea. Actually, and I thought it was a great idea too. They came out with it, and they said, because if not, then people we have to have some sort of responsibilities. And I thought it was brilliant, but it was completely their idea. And I think that goes back to the first question too, in the sense that it was a third-party first study, but then we follow up with a human resource department study. And I think the key is to listen and then listen in different ways to understand, try to be as objective as possible, yet as empathetic as possible at the same time, and many different ways. Focus groups are a great tool. Surveys too. Surveys allows you to know where to look at many times, and I think that's what the third-party study allowed us to do too. That it helped us where to look at and how to continue our own study.